Good morning, good evening, hello, thanks for listening. I hope you're well, wherever you sit and stand and listen. This is a medical cannabis show, which is a show that respects the law, and I hope you respect the law too. And I like to promote organics. And it's not age restricted, because I'll show you why in a sec. So this is pretty interesting about cannabis and its health. Good health. Hey, g'day, Dave. How you going, Dave? Nice to see you, mate. Today is going to be a fungi one. Yes, and a little bit of roots, talking about the roots in the rhizosphere. Where's the slide? There we go. So yeah, mostly fungi stuff, but it's a little bit about roots and some other interesting stuff that's happened through the week in cannabis, medical cannabis news and psilocybin news, because it's legal in Australia. Well done, Australia. Becoming the first. There it is, that little plaque there. I'll just wait another 45 seconds just for the other people to hit the click button. And then I'll start talking about fungi today, and psilocybin, and good health and safe practices, because it can be very bad. And also fungi in medical cannabis can be very harmful as well. So I'll go through some slides and stuff about that. There's a study that's been done. See those petri dishes on the screen? That's a study that's been done related to saprophytic fungi, which is saprophytes break down things. So it's anyhow, I'll go into that later on. Aspergillus is over here, about why that's harmful, and it's very, very common too. I'll show you how to distinguish between the different species of fungi, or probably genus, I reckon, but it's just by colours. So there's a few colours that you can know what's going on, like the Aspergillus is, oh gee whiz, I think it's yellow. Don't hold me on that, but I think it's yellow. But, all right, I've gone on for enough. It's been 2 minutes. So I'll start. Share screen. And present. Here we go. Here we go. Stop share. Wrong button. Sorry about that. Try again. Round 2. I want to show you this. So this is what we're going through. All of these. So it's not really a great deal, because most of these are just slides. Not much discussion. Better way to put it. So this is the start. Yay, Australia become the first country to legalise clinical prescriptions of psychedelics. I do promote psychedelics, but only in the form of mushrooms, which is psilocybin, and then only in the form of the cubensis, because you can regulate it through its weight, where the other forms of mushrooms, psychoactive mushrooms, you can't. So it's hard to tell the dose. See here? You know it's psychoactive when you snap the stem and it changes to that blue toxin level. It's really good. But yeah, I support them both. So this is why medical cannabis in schools should be told, and they're starting to do it over in Canada, because it's a medicine, and a lot of underage kids are actually having it as medicine, and it's working really well, as you know, for epilepsy, which I have. So this is why it's these type of shows my show should only be restricted. You should respect the laws, really. That's what it's about, respecting the laws. So if you're underage, just don't do it. I'm still talking about it. You can share information with your parents. But yeah, so this is really, really cool, I thought. Medical cannabis in schools, the experience of clinicians and caregivers. So it's out there. Next. Kennestock, October the 7th. Not far away now. So if you're in Hudson Valley, you can go to a pretty cool looking Kennestock. I like that really because of the cool cartoons. I reckon they're rad. Look at this one. They're just fun. Even the mountains are chilling. Hey, it's the way. And I like this. This is to do with post-harvest practices and how you should and shouldn't handle things. And you can probably guess if this is a good post-harvest practice. This is a local Himalayan woman as she carries a harvest on her head, pulling out resin in her hands with a nice smile. Cannabis actually has been grown wildly in the Himalayas, they reckon 28 million years ago, which gets up to a cool, interesting point on the bit of history stuff. I've got a bit of history stuff in here. That's just a nice specimen. That's just really nice looking. I just like that. Nicely finished. No real white pistils, stigmas anywhere. And this is today's show. That looks really nice, doesn't it? Nice backlit or something or other. They're not that colour and normal. Oh yeah, this is just before I get into the cool fungi stuff and a bit of history stuff. This is just showing, exploring the endocannabinoid system and the musculoskeletal connection in the human body. It's just showing that as we age, the body ages, it undergoes changes, and the endocannabinoid system is responsible for regulating these changes and bringing our bodies back into a relative balance. So it's just bones age, muscle breaks down like what's at 1% we lose after the age of 50, all that sort of stuff. So this through the CB1 and CB2 receptors, it can, what's that word, harmonious? No, it brings it back into its, where everything's in symbiosis and works well. It's a balanced form. It starts with H, I thought. Anyway, it's not coming to me. Oh, okay. Fungi's next. Oh, this is sort of relevant because this tells you how to get rid of problems in your outdoors more so. So these are some different plant families that you can go and plant if you've got the problems that arise, I suppose. For instance, the brassicas and the cruciferae family, like mustard, radish, canola, turnip, those types, they act as biofumigants, which naturally release compounds which suppress soil-borne fungal pathogens. So you can, you don't have to spray. Spraying's bad. Never spray. I don't promote spraying one single bit because it wrecks all the good stuff. You've spent ages and ages trying to build up a nice soil food web, and this the thing when you spray, it usually takes out all the good stuff first, and then the other things are harder to get rid of. So it just ruins everything. So I'm not going to read all this sort of stuff because this was put in today because it was related to soil-borne fungal pathogens, and that's just a way that you can do it by planting those families, brassicas or cruciferae families. Let's take a closer look. I like this, so I thought this is pretty cool. Let's take a closer look at plants and see what's going on. So biopesticides against various pests. So here it says the different types of pests. These are diseases, the nematodes, mollusks, weeds, and arthropods. So if you've got any of these types of problems, then you can look in the little finer chart here and you can think, all right, well, I've got dampening off, or I've got some powdery mildew or some botrytis problems. And then you look over here and you think, how do I get rid of it? And you go for some fungi. So you'll go and plant some of these botanicals. You'll go and administer some of these botanicals. Trichoderma hazarium's really cool. That's one of them that I use. That's trichoderma for fungi problems, and it'll help combat it. And of course, these are over. I'm not going to go through all these because these are different ways where you can organically get rid of problematic pests in your garden. So it's really cool. I'll definitely be showing this any other time that I'll be talking about any problems because it's a good summary. It's got heaps of different suggestions that you can do. So that's the first thing I always go, what's the biopesticide when I've got a problem? I identify the problem and I go, what's the biopesticide I can get to treat it? Because and then I'll see how badly it's affecting it. Do I have what type of infection? Is it a very, very one that's overtaken? Like that's when I consider seeing 4 or more things flying around or moving around in your field of view at one time. That means you've, yeah, good luck. It's probably already gone to that stage. Your sticky traps should have already picked it up. These are some problems that we get in white powdery mildew, some fungal problems. Powdery mildew is on the top and downy mildew is underneath. That's the difference between those two fungal diseases. And there's some other common ones. Detritus is grey. It's not white, it's grey. And this is pretty cool. I thought this is nice, from New Zealand. Hi to all the cool New Zealand folk across the Tasman. This is, I'll try and, Cryptotrauma aspirata in white light on the left, and on the right it's in ultraviolet light. And that's from the river forest in Auckland, New Zealand. So it's different types of, see, it's spiky, it's just all different. And if you want to tell if that was poisonous or not, you'd, actually I'm not going to talk about the poisonous thing because you shouldn't pick wild mushrooms. They are, this is the plates. So these are isolates of soil saprophytic fungi, which we have worked on, not me, which this team has worked on for about 10 years now, measuring all kinds of architectural, physiological, and ecological traits. So how do you know which types of colours they are? Actually, I should say g'day. See if there's any g'dayers. Oh, yep. Ned Kelly. Good morning, Ned Kelly. Nice to see you, mate. Top of the morning to you. I'll get back to sharing. Actually, there's some news up top. I just noticed some slides. I'll share this up here. What's going on up here? Oh, cannabis use is growing medically. A medical trend in cannabis use is growing in New Zealand rugby players. This paper reports today. So it was saying that All Blacks are getting stuck into it. They're loving the THC and the CBD as well. The CBD, they say, it reduces inflammation in the body, gives me the best sleep. So yes, it's so many people are using it now. The powers that be have to take notice and go, wow, it actually does work. Yes, bye-bye alcohol, welcome medical cannabis legalization. Next, dropping prices and heavy tax burden will mean cannabis industry bankrupts, warns producers. What was this for? Oh, this is how the taxes in Canada, just saying how it's ruining the market. Taxes are way too high and it's just going to destroy it. And if you compare Canada to Australia, wow. So if they're complaining over in Canada about it, you look at Australia's tax and it's like 300%. It's just, look, Canada's 50%. They put tax on. Australia's 300%. That's why the medical users here can't afford to use it. It has a grim outlook. Yes, if the powers that be in Australia don't take note, legalise it, mate. You're still going to make your money, fair income. Anyway, that'll do for that one. Psychedelics are reaching new highs and acceptance and business wants in. So they're starting, this is an Australian publication. This is Psylocibin cubensis, the only one that I support, because you can, cubensis is dosed by its weight, not by its active ingredients levels, depends on how it's grown. So it's, it's rad. It's just like having a cannabis plant that only spits out the same numbers every single time. That's what cubensis does. It's awesome. And also, while we're there, did you know that the spores under here, that's where the spores are? And that they're not illegal. It's the psychoactive ingredient inside it. It's illegal, not the spores itself. So that's why people sell spore prints and things and spores, and you can get them, and yeah. That'll do for that one, I think. State and local policy is changing for psychedelics. What will the feds do? San Francisco Chronicle says. Yeah, because it's working. It helps PTSD, other stress disorders. It's a brilliant brain detox. I've used it probably about 100 times, and it's been brilliant every single time. So yes, it's in the news. What's this on? Okay, what was this for? Cornell University, what about it? Oh yeah, okay, cool. This has got some, if you want to study some courses, this is Cornell University's put out some quite cheap courses. You see the price here, $675, which is quite cheap in this day and age. So there's different permaculture and botanical things that you can do in agriculture. So here's just some online stuff that you can go, look at this last one, which is really, I like it. 6-week online course. It's for new gardeners, shows you the basics and gets you feels comfortable with organics. And that's $675, so that's really cool. Right, here we go. The course lays a strong foundation in soil health and the whole systems that approach gardening. I thought I'd show that, and that's from the website. You can get it up here. It's cornell.education, Cornell University. Oh, that's the total yeast. That's all for the new stuff. I'll get back to the slide stuff. Hey, green bicycles. I see you come up on my... G'day, mate. How are you, green bicycles? Hope you're doing well. He's a good bloke, that fella. Look on his stream if you're interested in peaceful people into cannabis. No, I'm not sharing yet. Get back to sharing. Here we go. Oh, we've got to get rid of green bicycles. Sorry, there we go, just so it's up on the stream and everyone can see. There with those plates. Yes, it's interesting things are going to come from the different types of, oh, and you want to identify, like the pink's fusarium, the yellow's aspergillus. All right, how do you do that? They say. You go into these types of morphological experiences and you go here, well, this is these different plates here. Like, look at this branching of this fusarium. That's really bad umycetes. It's a fungal borne disease that gets problems in the roots. Not very good. And here, different colors. So, the different colors are yellow is the aspergillus, the pink's the fusarium, the green is penicillin, and the brown is cladosporium. And these are the problematic ones. So this study pulled out quite a few in medical cannabis. Actually, I think it was a couple of dozen that they pulled out, but there was only a handful of problematic ones. So that's why this study goes on about the problematic ones. And actually, while we're here, I'm going to scroll down because post-harvest practices is very important with your handling for oh, you say, what's the difference between the mold and fungus? Well, the mold and yeast. Fungus branches off and has mold and yeast. The yeast is all flat and doesn't have any hyphae sticking out of it, and the mold has this hyphae sticking out of it. And when they go to die off or their favourable conditions aren't met anymore, they form these little spores or cysts, which are these round things. And then so once their favourable conditions is met, which is more so water, so once the water level of the humidity gets above, I think it's 65% for Saccharomyces. So say 75%, once it gets up to 70 or 75%, these are going to start to germinate again and start to grow. Like here, it's starting to take over. Actually, there's this cool shot down here where it started to grow over everything. Okay, when you're ready. No, not that one. This is a very in-depth study. I went over this a few weeks ago, the total yeast and mold counts on medical cannabis, and this post-harvest one, oh, you're kidding. Where's the last chart? This one. So it depends on how you dry it even. So if you hang dry, your chances of getting contamination through total yeast and mold is low, as you can see from these 4 specimens. And when they do a wet trim, chances are there's heaps more. Look, you've got 5 colony forming units per gram from the hang dry, and you've got 20 to 25 and up to 50 colony forming units per gram for the wet. So you could say it's nearly 2/3. So that's a big difference too. I'll get up here for the colors because there might be some color references later on. Whenever you're ready. It's down a bit. There we go. Right there. So that's all for those top things. All right, back to the slides. I should see if there's any questions, I suppose. No, nothing's really come in. That's cool. I'll keep going on this good Fungi Fun day. This one. Aspergillus. It can be deadly. Yes, it can. Aspergillus can become aggressive and spread into the bloodstream, causing brain, heart, liver, kidney, and other organ failures. Not failures, but it causes problems because it's not critical, but there's no cure also. So medical cannabis, more so cannabis, street cannabis, is frequently inhaled with these inside of them because of poor growing practices and post-harvest practices, and consumers providing aspergillus a direct pathway to the lungs, which cause aspergillosis infection. And how do you know if your cannabis has that? You would take some, cut some stems, dry them. I'm still sharing. Dry them. Put them into favorable conditions again. So put them inside of a bag. So this has been dried out, and then it would be put inside of a bag, and you can see a little cysts on top of it, and you can see what color it starts to sprout. So once you've given it its the right temperature and its humidity, it'll start and germinate, and you can see the color it grows. And this one was green, as you can see. So that was a, is that all? I think there's another cool, oh yeah, another one across, 2 over. These are some little cysts that's laid on the side. So if I saw them, I thought, what's these types? I could just cut that square out and put that in a clippy bag with a little bit of moisture and see what started to grow. And then I'd know, all right, is that pink fusarium, or is it aspergillus, or what is it? And then look at their biological control to try and combat it or get rid of it. Where am I up to? This one, aspergillus. I just thought that's funky. Look at that. That looks rad, eh? I like all those colours. And oh yeah, this is the zoom back of that slide. So aspergillus can cause many types of health problems. Includes allergic reactions, lung infections, and infections in other organs. Allergic forms of aspergillus are generally not life-threatening. In contrast, invasive aspergillosis caused by aspergillus is a serious infection and can be life-threatening. And serious is medical cannabis stuff. More so cannabis, because if you try and be in the parameters of medical cannabis, you will have your sticky traps up, you'll maintain conditions that are favorable for your, that not going to harbor these. You will treat new genetics or as a, like in a separate area, like you do with aquariums. You don't just introduce fish into your main tank. You put it in a separate area first, just in case it's got things, just as they do in biosecurity as well. This is grillage glue for auto. I just thought, wow, that looks pretty nice. Why not throw it in? And look at this. This is, which would you pick? Well, we all know which one's the difference, but it just goes to show the harmful things that they've gone and put into the nicotine plant. So once big, what was it, Philip Morris, I think a few weeks ago, they've gone and bought an Israeli company, medical cannabis company, for a stupid amount of money. And soon it'll be like this. They'll mass market it, mass do it, and they'll put all these types of things like insecticide, industrial solvents, lighter fluids, toilet cleaners, petrol fumes, arsenic, cadmium. These are all the things I'm reading out that goes into a cigarette, to a normal tobacco cigarette. Rocket fuel, paint stripper and nail varnish, all those things go in. So, yeah, I hope it stays medical, because that is far from medical, and you can see why there's problems. Who wants to consume all those? Look, benzenes, holy mackerel. And look how cool this is. Woo! I like this. I'll probably show this again too, because it's just happy. It brought good energy. It's what medical cannabis should do. Bring on the good energy. Mountain Man loves it. So do I. And so do these odd Chinese people. They know medicine back then too. Look. Yes, very good. And most ancient cultures have realized and documented cannabis therapeutic applications, allowing us to trace a 6,000-year-old history of medical use on record. That in China, this Pen Tao Qing, the world's oldest pharmacopoeia, 2,700 BC, contains records of cannabis that treats over 100 different elements. Yeah, interesting. And then it gets to the 1900s, and then Henry Enslinger goes, nah, it's no good. It's the poison. So, yeah, that's the only reason why it was outlawed. Thanks for those folk who support. This is what the subscription gets you. $5 is support. I really appreciate those folk that have done that. Thank you. $80 gets private playlists. There's about a dozen of them. And there's a few more now because I'm adding to them this semester with my university. $150 gets a 20-minute call and a novelty gift like a chart or something I've made. $300 gets a weekly call, and that's more so for people, for a company going through starting up, or for a person that's having doctor's problems and wants my educated opinion. Thank you, everybody. Here comes Canna Entrepreneurships, Canna Jobs, what's going on? For those folk that love doing it, how can we make money out of our legal thing? You can do artwork like this person's done, made it look all funky. You can do some brewing, start up a brew company like this person's done. And you can get a dressmaker. And I just thought that's pretty cool. Look at it. That'll be selling soon. You get all these weird people that want all that sort of stuff, and where do they buy it? They haven't got much of an option, but if you start and do it, they might. And this is for today. All of the different funky, energetic, energizing, detoxing your brain sort of stuff. I love it because I find it really works with me. Everybody might be different, but it really does. And I'm not looking for it again. I might have it once every 6 months, or once every year, or once every time I'm looking for something to change my on board. What can I do? I'm sick of everything. Bang, have a reset, and things you see light. This was for jewelry. Look at that. Nice looking earrings there. And this is to do with sizing. How big do you reckon this is? Is this arm size? Old mate's going to go, man, I got these arm size calls. You should see it. But they might be, and they are to some people. But for me, I measure it by putting fingers behind the bud. So if I was to put, going by his fingers, that's a 3, and if you want to put it down here, it might be a 4. So it's a good 3 fingery, I'd say. That's how I size the buds up. Actually, I was going to show you a photo of an arm size one, which I've got. I'll stop sharing and get it for you. Remind me if I don't show you. But that's how I measure an arm size. So for this one, I would have put fingers behind it, just my closed hand, just like he did then, just like that. Just set it facing downwards, and I put it behind, and then see how many I can get. And I go, all right, that's 3 fingers, because that would probably be about 3 for me. And that 3 fingers is a good job in my book. And this is that's just a good job all around. It's 14 foot wide and tall. Yeah, blue AK truffle. And I like this one because it's just like a nice looking hedge. It's just really cool. Nicely, nearly like hedge. You can run along with the hedge trimmer. And this is to do with, this is a mushroom farmer in Mexico and his commercial facility. So that was the machine that they do for harvesting. They just sit it in between their rows. This is his little, looks like a homemade one or something. That looks like railway sleepers. But anyway, it just cruises along and cuts them all off. And they just spit out the side. I liked it. I thought that was relevant for this week. The root stuff. Actually, yeah, I'll talk about the roots then. This is just a nice start for the life. Did you know it's called a radical? R-A-D-I-C-A-L, radical, when it first germinates out. I like the word rad, so I thought, wow, that's cool, man. How rad's that? Yeah, it actually is rad. It's a radical. Okay. And that's even radical more. That's root bound. And you can see it's still loving its environment because it hasn't got real brown. The roots aren't real dyed off like they have at the top there. That's bleach white. I'd consider it down here. That's really good. There's heaps of oxygen in there. There's heaps of what it wants. Roots for resilience. So this just shows you how the roots help. So roots forge an alliance with hardier plants, diverse in form. Okay, rain, experiment, fungal harmony. Okay, I thought it was relevant. Didn't seem that relevant. This was pretty cool. This is an old traditional way that New Zealand folk did their hydroponics. So since there was no land on which they had crops, they just did these hydroponics and got around by rafts. They called them China Mimpas. China, China MPAS. So China Mimps, which had vegetables and flowers and other trees planted on them. And it's cool because the roots, they just push down through and they can access the water. So it wouldn't be done in salt, of course, in the ocean, but it would be done in rivers. And it would work pretty good. I like it. And this is actually a diorama at the Museum of New Zealand. Te Papa Tongarawama. Everyone's laughing at me. That's not how you pronounce it. Yeah, I know. I've got to try. See a floating garden. It's pretty cool. That's it. That's it for today. Hello, Lene. Cheers, listen, background. Very good. Atomic Spoon. Cheers, mate. Nice to see you. Actually, there's another thing too, which was, where's a good slide for it? Terpene. Oh no, I've still got to talk about fungi. I'm going to bring up this slide because while it's in my memory, I saw a cool medical show through the week, and it's talking about. Hang on, I'll just share screen. Share screen, entire screen. That'll do. And it's how to keep your. I'll go back to the start because I'm sure there's some sort of terpene thing here. Terpenes, please. Of course, there's no terpene stuff, is there? I'll leave it on Happy Farmer. With the terpenes, if you want to age and keep your sinuses really well, Michael Mosley did a good experiment with aging and found that you can keep your receptors for smell active by training them each day. And by doing that, you've got to smell something and actively notice it. So with medical cannabis, I actually do it. So I've been doing it for many years. So I just thought I'd pass on the information. So if you can actually take the note in and go, oh, okay, is this aging? Is this terpene profile change from what it was when it was growing? Is it changed from when it was stored? Is it is there anything different? Is this pheno different? Like sort of take it in, get 10 seconds or at least 5 out of the sniffing. They reckon really, really helps 2 times a day in keeping your senses for your nose alive in old age. I thought, wow, that's good information. I did that already with the terpene. So this is another bonus of medical cannabis. So some other funky stuff. I'll just click on this and see where we go, eh? That's just nice and, I think they're gold tops. It's that's a cubensis variety, gold tops. That's today's I put in. This is botrytis on how its growth and development. So you see you've got the dermal tissue and it starts to actually go through symplastically through the, and yeah, accumulate. You can come through the wounds as well, through the stomata, through the hydothodes, turkey tail mushrooms, and endocannabinoid. Okay, so one of these types of turkey tail mushrooms, it actually interacts with the CB2 receptor, reducing inflammation. So if you were getting tested for THC and it wasn't allowed in your job, you could maybe look for this to activate your CB2 receptor. And CB1 receptor was caryophyllene, that terpene. Dampening off disease. Yes, you can tell that's pretty distinct. It's Pythium is the species, and it just looks like that. Actually, Fusarium does it too. But if you go and plant it and you get the little skinny thing, I've had it a few times. That's, yeah, its seed had problems, or when it germinated, it picked up that very fast. Not good. And this is to show fungi how it's easy to grow. It'll grow anywhere in the right, more so the temperature, and if the spores are there. And the temperature I'm familiar with is 4 Celsius to 14 Celsius, and that's the temperatures that it's favorable in, and it'll germinate. So it's more so a winter, spring thing. Or if you're in a cold climate, Northern Hemisphere, it could be all year round, like in awesome Canada. Entomopathogenic fungi. Yes, this is how to get rid of a lot of them. And this is a Beauveria bassiana, and down the bottom, Meta, Hisarium, Anisoplei also does the same thing. But this Beauveria bassiana puts the white musculin disease. And I use that. So if you look at any problems, if you've got any flying things or any type of stuff, go with Beauveria bassiana, and if it actually gets infected, it'll spread and it'll look like that. It's pretty cool. These forest light mushrooms, they're bioluminescent. Can you believe? It's just so many different genre and species of fungi out there. Fusarium wilt. Oh, it's what. So if you've got good watering and it's just wilting bad, there's a high chance you might have Fusarium wilt, which is also a pathogenic fungi. Not good. But you get species to combat that though. Trichoderma hazarium, that suppresses it. Trichoderma species, actually. But I got Trichoderma hazarium in my kit. That's cool. 3 things you need to know before starting microdosing. Okay, I've never microdosed, so I don't have any experience in that area. So I don't really want to speak about it. So I don't know if that's good information or not. Oh yeah, and how do you know if it's a fungi dominant area or is it soil dominant? Well, or is it bacteria dominant? Well, bacteria tend to popularize the newer areas, and then once the time goes on, fungi gets in and starts to cultivate underneath it and starts to put in the blanket. And once it's in there, it'll just spread, and it's hard to get rid of, even though it can have bacteria and fungal infections in itself and viral infections. But that's generally how you'll know it. That's why in the forests you tend to get a lot more mushrooms than you do in the open fields. There's just a nice little tray of some. Sources of potential microbial yeast and mold contaminants that reduce post-harvest quality in medical cannabis. So it can come from everywhere. That's what that chart before was saying, from wet, and depends if you wet trim or dry trim. Depends how you hang it. Depends if it's in breezes, if it's outdoors, indoors. A lot of things that can happen. You can pick up a lot of problems afterwards even. Because the tissue, it's... What's this one? Alternation of the genetic program of soybean. That's how I learn most of my stuff for medical cannabis. It's because it's done in agriculture, and then I put these tests in medical cannabis and find that they're to be true because it's still a plant. So if you study agriculture, you've got a high chance of understanding cannabis as well. It's one good pathway. It's got me to where I am. Schematic diagram of the action of trichoderma. Okay. Produce substances that promote plant growth. They produce plant hormones. They improve rhizosphere microecology. Yes, there's many good forms. Trichoderma hazarium. Oh, look at that. And here's Trichoderma hazarium. It's actually strain number T22 if you want to order it from this mob. But yeah, it can combat the biological activity has been reported against several plant pathogenic fungi, such as what's common? Pythium, Sclerotorium, okay? That's what they've said under this study. And that's what it looks like under a plate. So if you were to get Trichoderma hazarium and plate it, it should look like, well, it should look like that. All right, that'll do. Stop sharing. That's about it, I think, at the stream. This is what the latecomers missed. Just a little bit about fungi stuff, really. Wasn't anything too eye-opening, safe use. It was a good thing about kids too, about why kids should be medically aware of cannabis, and they're starting to put it into schools. So that why this program here, I'm going to put it under as a, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to press the monetization button because of this slide. Because in Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, a lot of Canada's starting to get into it. Medical cannabis in schools because kids take it. Epilepsy's been around for years, and they've been having Epilum for a long time. See, that was what today was, really. That's about it. I think I've got. Told you how, yeah, I think I've gone through it all. Here we go. If there's any questions, please share them, or any other chat, or any types of suggestions for another show, or any problems that you're having with your area. You're welcome to post them now, because soon it'll be wrapping up. And next week I've started to put a show in. It's starting to come together as, what's week 61? What? Oh yeah, that's rad, that one. All right. I'll give you a sneak peek. There's not many looking at the moment. Present. This one slide in particular. Yeah, all right, I'll show it. This one, latitude flowering times. There's a good study on it, and this one hasn't been talked about much. But it's if you can get and use the ELF3 gene, which is the early flowering gene in ruderalis, and use it to your advantage, you can get some sativas that usually go flower for 120. You can bring them right back. And that's what hybrids have done, but you can work it even better. And yeah, that's what this study goes on about, and not many people have talked about it. And I've had that for probably a good 12 months at least, and I've transported it into a few other cultivars as well, and it's worked quite well. And I'm really surprised. Dead set 45 days, and it's 49 days, and there's no white pistils, stigmas. Everything's finished. The plant has fully matured because of that. So I'll be going over that study and talking a bit more about that next week. It's really good cannabis science that we can all benefit from, not just those in the know. Everybody can do this, and themselves. You just, as long as it's legal in your area, promote the legal activity. I don't promote illegal activity at all. I don't work with any illegal folk or anything like that. So yeah, I hope you do too. That's what the show's all about. Right, I don't think I need to go on anymore. I don't reckon. I appreciate the people in chat. Thank you very much for rocking up, saying good day, and thank you all for listening. Those who have gotten right to the end and listened to, thanks very much. 44 minutes. Hasn't made the hour, but that's all right. Doesn't have to. I'm getting a bit behind with I've got to sell all my next week's of my uni lectures have been released, so I've got to get into them, and I still haven't finished cell culture technology. I'm still halfway through that one, or one. I think I've only got 2 lectures to go, but yeah, that one's pretty interesting. But all right, well, thanks again. See you next week. I'm doing this again. Hope to see you all again, and I hope you have a really nice week. So happy growing, happy breeding, and good health to you all. Bye-bye.